When people say no gods, no masters, I understand exactly what they mean, even if I don't agree with all of it. It's a reaction against authority that pretends it's sacred, against power structures that claim divine justification, against the idea that anyone has the right to rule your life because something invisible allegedly said so. As a political stance, it's clean and sharp. As a magical one, though, it collapses under its own weight because witches don't live in a universe stripped of intelligences. We live in a world crowded with them. Gods, spirits, ancestors, daemons, land spirits, whatever language you prefer, the point is the same. The world is not empty and it never was. So instead of pretending otherwise, we need a better phrase, a more accurate one. Not no gods, no masters, but maybe no masters, but plenty of spirits. But before we dive deeper into what that really means, I want to quickly thank Rev Kai for supporting this channel and today's video, which is sponsored by them. Rev Kai is a specialized astrologer and diviner with over 25 years of experience. They provide a strategic blueprint for your life using little-known medieval and Renaissance astrological methods gleaned from recently discovered manuscripts. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, RevKai offers regular forecasting for the month or year ahead, so you always know exactly what's coming. They even specialize in deep dive services like identifying your innate magical skills and uncovering the name of your natal genius. For major events like business launches or weddings, they use electional astrology to find your window for success. And if you've never known your birth time, Rev Kai's rectification service can find it for you, giving you an accurate map to work with. They also help people build sustainable connections through ancestor veneration and spirit communication, sorting through lineage and tradition with confidence. Now, Rev Kai is offering a special 20% off for my viewers. So visit revkai.com and use the secret password, which is Midnight Hair, when you book your initial consultation. So stop guessing and start navigating with precision. The link and the password should be on the screen, and I'll also put it in the description below. Now, to pick up where we left off, the difference between no gods, no masters and no masters but plenty of spirits is what matters. And it matters because rejecting masters is not the same thing as rejecting the existence of gods or spirits. One is a refusal of domination, the other is a denial of reality. And magic has never thrived on denial. Magic begins with context, not ideology, with noticing that the world responds when you speak to it in the right way, at the right time, with the right attention. Before there were temples or churches or grimoires or lodges, there were people making offerings at stones, speaking to rivers, bargaining with the dead, listening for voices in the dark. There was no hierarchy there, no permission structure, and no spiritual management system, just relationship, risk, and consequence. Masters came later. They always do. Someone always steps in to organize, to regulate, to protect, to define who is authorized and who is not. Priesthoods, initiatory chains, magical orders, secret societies. These didn't appear because magic needed them. They appeared because people like power. And once power gets involved, authority follows close behind. Suddenly, access to the unseen requires approval. Suddenly, spirits are ranked, catalogued, moralized. Suddenly, the magician is no longer someone in relationship with other intelligences, but a functionary in a system that claims to mediate reality itself. Spirits didn't ask for that. They don't recognize it either. This is one of the quiet truths most magical systems try very hard not to confront. Spirits do not respond to titles. They don't care how many degrees you hold, who initiated you, what tradition you claim, or how long your lineage supposedly is. They respond to presence, coherence, attention, and the ability to follow through. Your spirit will work with a solitary witch who keeps their word far more readily than with a high-ranking initiate who treats the relationship as a right rather than an exchange. And yes, before someone jumps in to correct me, I know a lot of people will say commanding spirits works, binding works, constraining works, threats work, the grimoires exist for a reason, etc., etc. And sure, you can force outcomes, you can extract results, but it comes with a cost that most books quietly gloss over. When your entire magical posture is built around domination, you train yourself to see the world as hostile. Every interaction becomes a contest of will. Every spirit becomes a potential enemy. You stop listening and start shouting, and over time that erodes not just your magic, but your perception. What you gain in short control, you lose in long-term relationship. And witches, historically, have always known this. Folk magic, cunningcraft, witchcraft in its older forms was never about ruling the unseen. It was about navigating it, negotiating with it, appeasing, persuading, feeding, honoring, sometimes warding against, but not pretending to sit on a throne above it all. The witch was not a king or a priest. The witch was a neighbor, someone who knew how things worked locally, who understood which spirits were receptive, which were dangerous, and which simply wanted to be left alone. That's why the idea of mastery sits so awkwardly in witchcraft. It's imported language, political language, ecclesiastical language. It assumes a chain of command that simply does not exist outside human institutions. A god is not your master unless you decide they are. A spirit is not your ruler unless you surrender your agency to it. Devotion is not obedience. Reverence is not submission. Those distinctions are crucial, and losing them is how religion ends up strangling magic. When witches say they believe in the gods, what they usually mean is that they accept relationship with powers greater than themselves. That does not automatically imply hierarchy. You can respect something without giving up your autonomy. You can honor something without surrendering discernment. You can make offerings without giving up your spine. In fact, spirits tend to respect practitioners who can stand upright far more than those who collapse into worship out of fear or insecurity. This is where anarchy actually becomes relevant to magic, and not in the cartoonish sense people imagine. Anarchy is not chaos. It's not a free-for-all. It's the refusal of imposed authority combined with radical personal responsibility. Applied magically, it means no external masters, but absolute accountability for your own actions. There is no tradition to hide behind when you make a mess, no teacher to blame, no doctrine to weaponize. If something goes wrong, it's on you to repair it, contain it, or walk away from it. And that terrifies people. People want masters. They want someone to tell them they're doing it right. They want rules they didn't have to write. They want spiritual insurance policies. They want the universe to operate like a bureaucracy where mistakes can be appealed and responsibility can be deferred. Magic doesn't work that way. Spirits don't work that way. When you deal directly with the unseen, there is no appeals process. There is only consequence, learning, and adaptation. This is also why moral binaries break down so quickly in real spirit work. Spirits are not good or evil in the way Christianity trained people to think. They have natures, tendencies, contexts. A land spirit that protects a boundary may harm those who cross it. A chthonic god may dismantle structures that no longer serve. A predatory spirit may teach through pressure rather than comfort. None of that makes them immoral. Ethics are human concerns, and that's where responsibility returns to us. We choose what we engage with, how we engage, and what we are willing to live with afterward. The magician in this framework is not a ruler, not a priest, not a master. The magician is a node, a point of contact between worlds. Power doesn't flow because you command it. It flows because you are aligned enough to conduct it without distortion. That alignment is built through consistency, honesty, and the unglamorous work of keeping your word. Spirits notice that, they respond to it, and they withdraw quickly when it's absent. There are more spirits than there are systems, more gods than there are temples, more intelligences than any tradition could ever catalogue. When you stop trying to be respectable, stop trying to be authorized, you realize how vast the field actually is. Magic doesn't need to be managed, it needs to be met. So, no, witches don't say no gods, no masters. That slogan belongs to a worldview that assumes the only alternatives are obedience or emptiness. We live somewhere messier and far more interesting than that. We reject masters not because nothing is greater than us, but because relationship is richer than rule. We acknowledge gods and spirits not as authorities to submit to, but as powers to engage with honestly, carefully, and on terms we can sustain. No masters above us, no masters between us, plenty of spirits, and the courage to take responsibility for every relationship we choose to enter.